Hello friends, this video on P block elements part 30 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Now let's understand some of the important compounds of the oxygen family. One is the dioxygen, simple oxides of this oxygen family, ozones. I will also understand the allotropes of sulfur, sulfur dioxide, oxoacids of sulfur, and sulfuric acid. So let's start first with the dioxygen. See, dioxygen is nothing but my O2. That is my dioxygen. Very, very important compound for survival of human being. Without this, we can't survive. Right? This is the compound which we breathe. So before understanding the property of this dioxygen, let's understand how do we prepare this dioxygen. So there are various ways. In the lab, if you want to prepare, what we do is we heat any oxygen containing salt. As I told, a lot of salt has oxygen, for example, carbonate salt, right? So a lot of salts have nitrate salt, chlorate salt. So chlorate salt, carbonate salt, my nitrate salt. So these salts have oxygen. Just heat, one is the lab method, I'll say. In the lab, what we do is we heat my oxygen containing salt. And with this, since the salt had oxygen, and oxygen containing salt can be chlorate, nitrate, permanganate, carbonate, it will give you oxygen. For example, I take KClO3, I heat this, I get KCl plus O2. Pretty easy. Nothing great in this. So I'll get 3 by 2 O2. Balance the reaction. Yes. And you heat this with some catalyst. That is the lab way. But we need oxygen more. So we need some other ways also. Okay. So what we do is we decompose the oxides. So we decompose oxides of metal, and this metal has to be low in the electrochemical series, right? For example, we have Ag2O. We heat this, we get silver and oxygen. Or let's suppose we have HgO. You heat this, you get mercury and oxygen. You have Pb3O4. You heat this, you get PbO and oxygen. You have PbO2 also. You heat this, you get PbO and oxygen. Okay, so just by thermal decomposition of oxides also of metal which are low in the electrochemical series, for these we generally heat this and we get oxygen. We also generate this oxygen from our hydrogen peroxide. See, this hydrogen peroxide, it can be readily decomposed into water, because we have seen that hydrogen peroxide actually is unstable. It can be easily decomposed into water and oxygen actually by the catalyst such as my finely divided metals, platinum metals I think, and magnesium dioxide. You can actually it is manganese dioxide, MnO2. Yeah. Manganese dioxide, you actually convert H2O2 to water and oxygen. So this is oxygen we got. So these are all small scale actually. So what about the large scale? In the large scale, we want in the industry. So in large scale, what we do is we either do electrolysis of water. We have this water. We do the electrolysis of this, and with hydrogen as my cathode, anode is positive. So anode is oxygen and this is hydrogen. So hydrogen is cathode and oxygen is anode. You do electrolysis of water. This is water. The blue one is all water. Yeah. What you get is oxygen. We also get oxygen from the air. Air has so much oxygen. We have seen almost 22% oxygen. So from the air we get oxygen by removing impurities from oxygen, such as carbon dioxide, my water vapors, and whatever gas you get, you do a fractional distillation of this gas to remove nitrogen also. So oxygen generally has air has oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, some water vapors. So you take the oxygen, you remove carbon dioxide, you remove vapors, pretty easy to remove, right? And now out of these, removing nitrogen and oxygen from the air, we use fractional distillation. So removing water is pretty easy. You can just use any other dehydrating agent. It will suck all the water. Removing carbon dioxide is also pretty easy. You can use CaO. It will remove all the carbon dioxide and form calcium carbonate. But removing nitrogen from that mixture is a little tough. So we use fractional distillation. Let's see some properties of dioxygen. The moment you think of oxygen, you think of pure, colorless, without any smell, odorless gas. And you're right. Oxygen is my colorless. So it shows gray color, but that is because to show some color, else you won't be able to see the oxygen. Actually, you don't see the oxygen. Why? Because there's no color. It's colorless. You won't feel the oxygen because there is no smell. It is colorless, odorless gas. It is soluble in water, and a good proof for this is the aquatic animals. See, aquatic animals, plants also survive in water. Why? Because oxygen is soluble in water. Because they also need oxygen, right? And oxygen is soluble in water, and the solubility is pretty good. Soluble in water, and solubility is pretty good. It is 3 centimeter cube of oxygen in 100 centimeter cube of water, almost 3%. Pretty decent at my STP. That is sufficient to support my aquatic life. Now this oxygen is gas in my STP, but actually it will liquefy at 90 Kelvin. At 90 Kelvin you can make it as liquid, and at 55 Kelvin you can freeze it and make it solid. For these oxygen, there are 3 stable isotopes. There are 3 stable isotopes for oxygen: O16, O17 and O18. You will write on the left hand side actually. O16, O17, O18. This oxygen is paramagnetic. We have seen this. So when we read about the molecular bond theory and valence bond theory, there we have seen that oxygen is paramagnetic. In fact, this is attracted by magnets. We have seen a picture also where there was a liquid oxygen flowing in, and there were 2 magnets here, right? This is North Pole and this is South Pole maybe. And this oxygen was little tilted towards one of the pole. So oxygen is paramagnetic, and we can actually prove it using theories we have discussed. This oxygen directly reacts with almost all the metals. Almost all metals. So it directly reacts with almost all the metals. Okay. And also non-metals also. Exception is gold, platinum, they are exception, and some noble gas. But apart from that, for example, FeO, CO, calcium oxide, carbon dioxide, they form oxide with almost all the metals and non-metals. This is non-metal, this is metal. Almost all the metals and non-metals, they form oxide. And this reaction is exothermic. Right? but the reaction doesn't take place on its own. Even the rusting of iron, it takes place very slowly. If it is exothermic, it should happen on its own immediately. But there is a catch. Why this reaction doesn't happen on its own? Even this reaction from metal or non-metal to oxide, this reaction is exothermic. But still the reaction doesn't happen on its own. Why? Because to initiate this reaction, external heating is required. Why? Because the bond dissociation enthalpy of oxygen is very high, almost 493 kilojoule per mole. So once this is overcome, then only the reaction will start. Example, I have calcium plus oxygen will give calcium oxide, or aluminum plus oxygen will give Al2O3, or even phosphorus will react with oxygen to form P4O10. Carbon will react with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. So this oxygen, you need this much energy to break this bond, because if this bond is not broken, how this reaction will take place? Correct? When methane will react with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. So thus you need some energy to break this bond. It's a very good question. All the conversion from metal or non-metal to oxide is exothermic. Still it doesn't happen on its own. It needs some energy. Why? The answer is pretty simple. Yeah. For a reaction to happen, this oxygen double bond should break. And there's a hell lot of energy required to break this double bond. That is nothing but 493 kilojoule per mole. And thus we need some energy to initiate this reaction. Okay. Let's see the uses of oxygen now. It is used for respiration. That is very, very much. You breathe in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide. Oxygen is in both the case. For burning, oxygen is required. Oxygen is must for burning. Without oxygen, you can't burn stuff. This oxyacetylene welding for metals, oxygen is required. In hospitals, we need oxygen. For sometimes patients, they are not able to breathe properly, so they are on the oxygen. If you want to fly at high altitudes, and high altitudes, the oxygen level is less, and that sometimes you tend to take a big container with oxygen and tend to use as a mask. Even if you are climbing at a high mountain, let's assume this is a high mountain, you're climbing, you're a climber, there also you need this kind of oxygen cylinders to breathe. Rock mechanism, you want to find the age of the rocks. That time also you need to understand oxygen reactions, because most of the rocks has oxygen. Okay, let's take some numerical. Which of the following does not react with oxygen directly? Zinc, yes, it reacts. Titanium, yes. Platinum, no. Why? Platinum is a little noble metal. Iron, yes, obviously rusting of iron we have seen. So platinum is the only one which does not react with oxygen directly. It is non-reactive metal. Platinum and gold. To complete this reaction, CH4 plus C2H4 burn in oxygen, it will give you carbon dioxide and water only. Right? We have seen most of the hydrocarbons, they burn in oxygen to give carbon dioxide and water. We can balance this reaction. The next is aluminum plus oxygen. Al plus oxygen will actually give you Al2O3. And this is the balanced reaction. Okay. Thank you. Visit examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online tests, get free study materials, find tutors and mentors, and much more. Thanks once again.